Well, before we jump back into our look at God's Word, and specifically the Apostle Paul's letter to Titus, telling him what to do to set things in order in the church there on Crete, let me just again say that if all of the stuff going on, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and that doesn't even include what's going on in your own life physically and relationally, if all of that is creating confusion and concern and frustration and anger and those kinds of things, I just want to ask you to make contact with me or with somebody here at church, because typically those things do not just get resolved and go away. Often they need an encouraging word, some particular tool to help turn the corner to live in the bounties of who Christ is. And it's nothing to be embarrassed of if we're kind of stuck. What should be cause embarrassment for us if when we're stuck we do not get help for the sake of our own hearts as well as those that we spill over onto. So please, if that happens to be where you're at, or if it happens to be where somebody that you know is at, just have them or have you go ahead and get a hold of us. Well, we're looking at what kind of men, the qualities, the character that needs to be in a man to be an elder, an overseer, a pastor or shepherd within the local churches. And we have this most helpful description here in Titus chapter 1, in verse 5 down through verse 9. And we looked last time and we said the overarching quality is that he is a man who is above reproach. Now, you might remember that we said they are. And in other words, this is a snapshot of their life right now. It doesn't mean they've always been above reproach. Now, obviously, there has to be some history and track record of that somewhat recently. But it doesn't mean that if you did something as a 20-year-old and you're a 45-year-old now, and God has radically transformed your life, that should still be held against you. No, this is a snapshot into the quality, the character of their life. And the first place that it goes is in verse 6, is to the family. And the first place that it goes within the family is to the man's relationship to his wife. And so let me just read it for us. If any man is above reproach, the husband of one wife, having children who believe, not accused of dissipation or rebellion. Let's just look at this qualification that they need to be a husband of one wife. Now, when I went to Surabaya, Indonesia some years ago, I remember meeting a pastor for the first time that we were going to do a lot of ministry with. And as it turns out, we did a lot of ministry over the subsequent years with him. I had just met him. We were in the car from the airport, and he asked through the translator, I have a man in my church who has just recently come to Christ, and so have all three of his wives, because in Islam, they could have several wives in Indonesia. And he says he's really a quality man and has a lot of leadership qualities to him. Can he serve as an elder? Can he serve as a pastor in my church? Well, my answer to him was, this would say no. No. His response was, well, then what is going to stop him, or I should say, what's going to stop other men from looking at him and wanting more than one wife? And I told him, I said, if any man is married and seeks to live out what this simple phrase says, that really is a capturing of all of the commands that are given to we who are married. If any man seeks to do that with one wife, they're never going to want a second or third wife, because it's a hard enough job. It's a walk of faith, and it's a dying to self to be faithful to be the husband of one wife. And so certainly this means that no man who is in a polygamous marriage can serve as an elder. But it goes much, much, much beyond that. It doesn't simply mean that they've only been married once in their life. It doesn't simply mean that they're the husband and only have one wife now. For one thing, it doesn't mean that a man has to be married to serve as an elder in the church. The second thing is remember, these are character qualities. It's not an identity. It's not just saying I'm the husband of one wife. You can't just go down to the county recorder and find out whether this man is qualified. It has everything to do with their character. So what does it mean? It means that he is a one-woman man, and that one woman is his wife. It means he acts, he behaves as the husband of his wife. Now, obviously, this would include not being intimate with any other woman. That would be adultery. Certainly, it would include pornography. It would include flirting. It would include secretive communications and emotional attachments to any other woman that is not his wife. I love the phrase found in Ephesians 5 where it says, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church." I love the phrase later on in that passage that talks about how a man nourishes and cherishes his own body, and how we are to do that with our wives. We are to nourish her. We are to cherish her, and her alone. She's to be on the pedestal in our life. The pedestal in the way that she thinks, the pedestal in the way that she looks, the pedestal in her walk with the Lord. She needs to be the center of our emotions and our attentions and our affections and all of who we are. And there is to be no competitors with any other women in our lives. And so we are to nourish her. We're to bring life to her, joy to her, a purpose to her, a way forward when life is difficult, as we cherish her. Part of what this is saying, and I think what is very implicit within this, is this: it needs to be a husband who values what she thinks and what she says. Any of us that are married know that life brings all kinds of challenges to us. And it could simply be, where do we live? That's an easy one compared to, how do we raise this child? What do we do now that we've learned this about our child? And a key quality of a man, a husband of one wife, is that they value what their wives think and say, and they will shepherd their marriage in such a way so that when they're dealing with very difficult situations, they will land together, because the moral imperative is the two shall become one flesh. And that's not just talking about a sexual relationship. That's talking about a unity in the marriage. So that, for example, if you grow up with different views of how a child should be raised, those will come together with the best out of both of you, and that child will experience that unity between their mom and their dad. And I think this is a most important quality for those who are going to be elders in the church. Because you remember, there's a plurality of elders in the church. And one of their main responsibilities, one of their main qualities, is to be able to participate with other elders in things where there is not a clear way forward, and to be able to respect others, what they're thinking, and learn from them, and to lay their heart on the table, and to stay in it until you land together, preserving the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. If they can't do that with their own wife, why would we think they can do that with other men and other elders in the church? Well, this command and this qualification is not just for those who are elders or who would like to serve as elders. This is what it looks like to be transformed by Christ more into his glorious image. And thus, this is something that every single man who is married should pursue, should trust God for, should put off old ways and put on new ways. This is godly character for all husbands. So husbands, how does the Spirit of God want to use this qualification, these things that we've talked about, to transform you more into the glorious likeness of Christ? Whether you ever serve as an elder or not, oh, what a beneficial person you will be as a husband of one wife. May God bless each of you husbands as we continue to grow more and more to be what God has designed and gifts us to be. God bless you.